Gelila Debebe, Senior Manager of Acquisition Marketing at Savage X Fenty. Welcome to Marketing Girly.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on and to chat through your career journey. Galila has worked at Savage X Fenty for almost 5 years now.
Yeah, I'll be 5 in July.
Oh
Crazy.
my goodness. That is so exciting. So I'm really excited to kind of chat through your career journey, lessons learned along the way, and how you got your start at Savage X Fenty. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Galila. I currently work in growth at Savage X Fenty. I'm also a part-time content creator on the side. Um, if you guys don't know Savage X Fenty, the lingerie brand founded by Rihanna in 2018. And Savage is really known for kind of disrupting and redefining the marketplace by creating a diverse and inclusive brand that celebrates confidence and individuality, especially at a time where that really wasn't in the marketplace. We have an extensive assortment of bras, panties, lingerie, sportswear, loungewear, even stuff for men's too, and of course with all body types thought when making these products. And I've been at Savage, like you said, for almost 5 years now, which is crazy and kind of grown along the way. I'm currently a senior manager of acquisition marketing. And I'll say what I pretty much do is come up with our creative strategy for all of our paid media channels. I also help optimize our customer journey funnel. So basically, I'll say my job is the perfect mix of data and creativity, which I love. So I'm looking at the performance of all of our ad creative, seeing like what's working, what's not working, and taking that data, turning it into like actionable insights when briefing into like new ad creative for like new campaigns. And yeah, I didn't always know I wanted to go into growth marketing, but honestly, I love it. I'm always constantly learning new things, trying new things, and whatever's working, making sure we scale it to bring in new customers. But yeah, I'm excited to dive in more about my journey with you today.
Amazing. Well, what a career journey you've had, which is really awesome. And congratulations on almost 5 years. How
Thank you.
exciting. For those who might not be super familiar with, or just your own, I'm curious about your own perspective, how would you define growth marketing?
Yeah, so growth marketing is pretty much directly tied to revenue. So for me, like for acquisition marketing, it's essentially bringing in new customers and leading them to make their first purchase. So I'll say kind of sits between the mid to lower funnel of marketing. So maybe a customer might already know what the brand is, and now they're really looking to make that first purchase, usually the consideration phase of like the marketing funnel. And yeah, so our job is really to acquire that customer ideally at the lowest cost and efficient cost as possible. And that can be through different tactics. So it could be through like paid socials like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok ads, paid search like Google ads, SEO, can be through affiliate marketing, influencer partnerships, commercials like TV linears, like all that kind of jazz.
Oh my gosh, so a lot. You got a lot under
Yeah.
your umbrella.
Yeah, a lot of numbers, but I love how my job specifically is like the good mix of like I always been like a creative girl growing up, but I
Yeah.
do love numbers too. So
Yeah.
they love how my position really is. I get like the best of both worlds in like my job.
Yeah, that is really interesting to hear. I have a friend that works on the growth side, and I think it's so fascinating. It's also a really technical role in the sense that, like, I feel like the people that are really good at that role, like someone like yourself, you obviously have the experience and have learned a lot in it. And like you mentioned, it's a good balance of the data and the creative. You kind of get to blend both. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I definitely wanna touch more on acquisition marketing, but I kind of wanna go back a little bit and talk about how you even got this role at Savage X Fenty at all. So if you wanna take us back to the start.
Yeah. So I guess even before I got the role, I guess I'll even take it back to college. So I'll say when I was about like 16 or 17, I always wanted to work in the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's just like delusion, but no one could tell me anything else. I was like, I'm gonna work in the entertainment industry. I just like loved the behind the scenes of like the marketing campaigns, like how I don't know, like an artist got like rolled out or how like a festival got promoted. I was just so interested into that. So fast forward, I'm in college. I'm in my junior year, and I'm starting to apply for internships. And I didn't have anything on my resume really. I just worked like retail jobs. I was a part of some clubs, so I might like do the social media marketing for there. But besides that, my resume didn't really have much going on. I was applying to like hundreds of internships, wasn't really getting called back. And also around the same time, I was in a career development class, and a professor was teaching us perfect timing how to write the best cover letter, and especially for a cover letter for those that don't have much experience. So basically, that's probably the most important thing I learned throughout my entire college journey, funny enough. And basically, it was kind of just really telling a story through your cover letter. You know, you don't have much experience. So write about, like, make yourself stand out, like, add some humor in it. Like, what are you passionate about? So I just started making sure I tailored my cover letter to each like position that I'm applying for. And I kind of just wrote about what I was like passionate about. Like for me at that time, I was really passionate about music and end up getting an interview with Live Nation. And I was like, wow, this actually worked. The cover letter. I went from like not hearing back to actually like getting interviews.
That's amazing. Wait, I
Yeah.
want to pause you there
Yeah.
because I think everybody's afraid of cover letters. I
Yes.
know about somebody that loves the cover letter. Okay, they're hard work. It's sometimes you feel like you're writing it and nobody's even reading it. So, can you walk us through maybe some things that you did in that cover letter that you think were really impactful in helping you get an interview? And like you mentioned, you had no marketing experience because that's also something I hear a lot. Girls really struggle at the beginning of their career when you have nothing on your resume other than maybe, yeah, you had to work a retail job in college or you were a barista or a bartender. So, yeah, any tips for the cover letter?
Yeah, so for me, I'm really just making sure I add my own personality, my own experience into it. Especially if I know about the company, I'll do research on it. Like, what do I like about their marketing campaign? What am I interested in? And a lot of times, the hiring manager, if you can go try to figure out who the hiring manager is, that's another plus. And talk about like what you liked about the campaign or what you're interested about learning. And a lot of times, people from these higher positions, they want to be able to teach people. So just kind of throw your curiosity and throw like your passions in the cover letter. It was like the best. Advice that I got. So I think for me, I wrote about how I was always loved going to concerts growing up. I liked how they did this certain rollout. I kind of like went into detail about that, and I didn't really have much experience, but I really led with that. And then they even mentioned in the interview, like, "Oh wow, like our cover letter like really stood out to you," and I was like, "Oh, like this actually worked out," and I was glad that that worked for me. It's fun even now when if I'm hiring people, like I always like to make sure I'm reading cover letter and like I like
Yeah.
looking for that. 'Cause, usually have the typical format of, hey, this is my experience, this is what I can do for you. Please hire me. But you kind of get like hundreds of those. So really thinking like what can make me stand out from like thousands of other applicants.
That's a really, really good point. Is there anything that you personally like to see in cover letters now?
For me, I like when people know about the brand and they do their research about the brand. So maybe saying, "Hey, I saw you guys do this campaign with this person. I thought it was so cool. I love to be a part of something like this." Maybe they're adding their own passion. Like for us, for Savage, talk about how they love like that's an inclusive brand. Or maybe they're a shopper of the brand. And maybe they bring up their favorite product or XYZ, kind of adding that own personal flair to it versus like you could kind of tell it was like a copy paste and just kind of
Yeah.
putting in like different companies.
I love that you mentioned talking about the brand because I also really love seeing that when somebody applies to a job at Sky Society and they mention that they're in our community or they went to an event or they listened to a podcast episode. Because again, that's just showing me that you are actually writing this for this job. You're not just like mass sending this out or just because I feel like sometimes, obviously, you're trying to get a job and that's totally fine. But when you feel like, oh, they don't just want a job, they want this job,
Yeah,
that's what feels special.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So you write a killer cover letter. It gets you an interview. Then what?
I actually don't get that job.
Oh no.
I know. But for me, like I took that rejection as like I just viewed it in a positive way. I was like, okay, I went from not hearing back to making it like this far. So like
Yeah.
I just took it as like a path of route. So I continued applying, and then a few weeks later, I ended up getting emailed from Rock Nation, and that was like the number one internship that I really wanted to.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was like so excited. I was like, I need to get this job. So I ended up just having like I think like 2 rounds of interviews, and then I ended up getting that internship.
That is amazing. Also, for you to even get callbacks for interviews for two big entertainment companies, and
Yeah.
that was your childhood dream to like be able to
I know. I don't know
actually.
if it's delusion or what it is, but like I knew this was gonna happen. Didn't know
Yeah.
exactly what, but
You have to be
yeah,
delusional
you
though, and
have
you have
to.
to believe in your dreams. And I love that story because I know a lot of marketing girlies who are early in their career or aspiring marketing girlies definitely can relate to that struggle of not having marketing experience on their resume and feeling like, well, then I can't get a job at these companies. And I think you're an amazing example of somebody who was delusional in the best way possible and made it happen for herself.
No, literally. And then when I was at the internship, I remember feeling like, do I belong here? A lot of people over there, maybe like their parents knew some from the company, or like there's a lot of people from like just prestigious schools, like, you have like Brown and Columbia. I'm like, oh, I'm at a local state school. And then it's just like feeling like, do I not belong here? But then if anything, that kind of motivated me to like, no, I do belong here. I'm contributing to all these great ideas. I met so many great people. But they had like this like cool internship program where I got to like lead like the interns like on like the end of year project, and I was really making sure I was um using that time to like my advantage. I was like, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I really want to make the most of my time. I was like driving. I lived like in Orange County at the time, and the office was like in LA, so I was driving like 2.5 hours
Oh my gosh.
just for this opportunity. But sometimes you kind of have to do it.
Yeah,
Just
every day that was
yeah,
your commute.
I was probably going in about 3 days a
That's
week.
a
Yeah.
lot. Also, like, so we were just talking about how my family's from Huntington Beach, and I used to. This is actually the first time I'm recording this podcast in LA, and I'm staying in LA. Normally, I stay with my family, and then I drive up. But the last time I did that, sitting in
Traffic.
traffic, and then having to like, obviously, I want to be energy here, and then at the end of the day, driving back in traffic. So, like, props to you for being really committed and doing that commute because it's a lot.
Yeah, I told myself whenever I'm like stuck in traffic, it's gonna pay out in the long end. Like
Yeah.
just keep on going, and then but it was really fun. Like I'm really grateful for that internship.
Yeah, I think thinking long term, I love the heuristic of like do when you're faced with two options, do what's harder in the short term, and that kind of equates to you being able to have better opportunities in the long term.
Yes, I love that. And then while I was also at the internship, I remember my big focus was music, but at Rock Nation, a lot of the clients, they have like different brands, like Rihanna, she had like her Fenty Beauty at the time. So I got to work on like those like different campaigns as well. I was like, you know what? I don't have to work in just music. I kind of like doing these like big campaigns, like for the beauty or fashion. That was like another like passion of mine at the time.
Mhm.
So I got to like I learned a lot from that internship. And then fast forward to 2020 during COVID, that was like right when I graduated. So I'm trying to look for like that first job post grad. It was super difficult. But I was like applying to like getting a bunch of jobs, wasn't really hearing back. Whenever that happens, always make sure like, why am I not hearing back? Let me tailor my resume a little bit more. Like, what can I do differently? And also just during this time, I think we're all like on lockdown. I'm like always just taking additional courses or anything else that can like help just add more to my resume and like in this like competitive field. And then eventually end up landing a job at like a small company. I was like a marketing assistant, and at small companies, marketing assistant means you're doing everything. I'm doing the social, do the CRM, I'm doing the advertisements. But it was really cool because I got to like learn different fields of marketing. A lot of times when you're young, you're like, I want to work in marketing. It's just, that's a lot.
Yeah,
There's
there's a
so many
million
different
things under
fields.
that.
So I was kind of glad to get that really. I feel like you learn the most when, at least for me, during hands-on experience versus like a classroom for marketing specifically. So
100% agree.
yeah, so I really
Yeah.
got to kind of learn like the ins and outs of, I guess, like marketing
Yeah.
during that time.
Is there anything? I know you mentioned obviously the pandemic time, terrible time to graduate.
I know.
So you mentioned you just took that opportunity to focus on yourself. Are there any certifications or courses or books or podcasts or any resources that you use that you felt were really helpful in helping you improve yourself to get that next role?
Yeah, there's like a lot of courses on LinkedIn and even on YouTube where people will kind of just like teach you like anything. I feel like you can like learn anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I remember I learned how to do like SEO. I added that to my resume. I would even take like courses on like how to write a good resume, like small things like that. And I think just having those like credentials on my resume just really just kind of added the extra boost and gave me the extra confidence to make sure like
Mhm.
I'm continuously learning, even though like I'm not in a classroom anymore. Like, what else can I continue to learn? I would also reach out to like local coffee shops or anything. Like, I'll be like, hey, I'll for free. Like, I'll help like run your social media. Just like anything that can help me just add more things to my resume and just more qualifications.
And did they say yes?
Yeah, I ended up working. It was actually a small skincare company. I think I was like
Yeah.
shooting like some like footage for them
Oh
on
my
behind the
God.
scenes.
I actually am obsessed that you just said that because I just released an episode. By the time this one comes out, this episode I released will be a little bit older. It's called How to Get Marketing Experience in 2026. And I gave that exact thing as a way to get marketing experience of going to your local stores
Yeah,
and being like, hey, can I work for you for free?
it works. Honestly, I think small
Yeah.
businesses. If you have friends that are small businesses or anything, I think that's like a great opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and to help your local community, like, it's just such an amazing thing, and you like a mutual exchange of benefits, right? I get experience, and then you get some help and some free work.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I love that you shared that because I just talked about that. So perfect timing. Okay, so I also love that you decided to focus on yourself. You took that opportunity of, hey, I'm not getting a job right now, so what can I do to make myself a better candidate and more qualified versus just being like, oh, this sucks, I'm not getting a job. I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep applying and not change anything. So I love your perspective there. You get your first job. you're starting to get experience, and then you're starting to realize, like, "Hey, there's some more stuff under marketing." So, take me back there.
Yeah, so I liked what I learned a lot from that job, and I'm, like, always grateful for that job, but, like, I really miss, like, the big budgets and, like, the big campaigns. I kinda really wanted to go back to, like, kinda like a big name brand, so, I was like, "Okay, let me start applying again," so I kinda, like, went out and I was, like, applying to different jobs, I would get interviews, but I wasn't really making it that far, and it's funny, I think around this time, TikTok was really blowing up. And I remember a lot of companies were like, "Do you have TikTok experience? Do you have TikTok experience?" And like my company at the time, our audience kind of tailored to like an older demographic. So they didn't really want to market on TikTok. They didn't want to waste like their dollars on there. So I was like, dang, like what can I do like to gain TikTok experience? And that was like another delusion of mine when I was younger. I was like, I always wanted to be like an influencer, a content creator. I was like, you know what? This like, let me just give it a try let me try marketing myself. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a content plan, 30 days, post on TikTok for every day for 30 days and see what happens. And I end up gaining 10K followers in
Oh
that
my
first month.
gosh.
And yeah, and then kind of just kept like escalating from there. And then I wouldn't add it in my resume 'cause I think I was like scared, like it might like throw some people off, like, oh, she's just like an influencer, content creators and take her job seriously. But I would like sprinkle it in interviews and they actually loved it. Like, oh, like, can you do it for like our company? And I was getting like a lot of like getting more to, like, the final stage of interviews or maybe even getting offers. So, that actually did help me a
Interesting.
lot.
Okay, I got lots of questions
Yeah.
now. So, what were you posting in those first 30 days?
I chose my niche that I chose was, like, hair content. So, I was
You have
always
gorgeous hair. Also,
Thank
and your
you.
skin is also
Oh my
gorgeous
gosh,
as I'm
thank you.
sitting here watching you.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I think I grew up in, like, that influencer era, like, on
Mhm.
YouTube where it was, like, beauty was big, so I just always grew up, like, watching I was always into influencer marketing, and yeah, I think every girl with curly hair, they kind of go through that phase of they always strain it, they don't know how to take care of it, and then they kind of go to like social media to kind of learn how to take it. And I was like, that happened to me. Like I didn't know how to take care of my hair, burned it all off by straightening it. It's like, okay, now how can I like revive my hair? And like YouTube really helped me. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's like a younger generation of like girls out there that I can help. So I was like, hey, that's gonna be my niche. Now what's my content plan? And I remember my algorithm, I remember at first I thought TikTok was just like an app for kids just dancing, but then you
I
kind
also
of
thought that.
yeah, then you kinda get sucked in, the algorithm does its thing, and then
Yeah.
now, like, it's just tailored to you. And at the time, all the videos I was getting was like, "Here's how to grow, here's how to grow." I was like, "Is it time? Like, should I start doing it?" I think I have, like, old YouTube videos of myself, like, archived from, like, 2016. But I was like, "Let me revisit this." And then but I mean, like, yeah, I was posting every day, but I really did have, like, a strategy. "Okay, I'm gonna post this. This is what's trending. I'm gonna try this different hook and XYZ." And I did it for 30 days straight, make sure I posted every day, and then it worked out for me, and then from there, I didn't even realize how quick you can really, like, turn into kinda like a career. Like, obviously, I knew influencer marketing was a career, but I didn't realize even, like, having, like, a small following. I think I got my first brand deal with, like, K18.
That was your first brand
yeah,
deal? Oh my gosh.
I had, like, 10K followers. I was like, "Wait, this is like a whole side thing for me going on over here," and, like, I'm so grateful, like, I did that, which is funny because a lot of rejections is what kinda led me to that moment, and I feel like it
Yeah.
just kinda ended up perfectly like, working
Yeah.
out perfectly.
Can I ask how many followers you have now?
Right now, I'll say I'm probably about, like,
Oh my
120K or something like
gosh,
that? Yeah.
that's insane. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
huge. Okay, so you start to build content. I'm sure you're learning so much about the algorithm by posting content. I also think that's great advice of posting your own content is again such a great way to build experience. Like you are learning every single time you post. Like you mentioned, you were trying new hooks, you were learning the algorithm. So I think that's such a great way to build experience. And then also you were listening in the job market, like, hey, this is something that keeps coming up. Like, how can I build this experience to make me a much more unique candidate, which obviously it worked out. So you decided not to put it on your resume. And I know I also have girls ask me that question, like, I'm doing content creation. Should I put it on my resume? Should I not? Can you tell me about that decision and if you would still stand by that now?
Honestly, I don't think it's bad to put in your resume. I think at that time, I think I was just, like, nervous, like, they're not gonna take me seriously or XYZ, but even now, like, if I'm hiring someone, I sometimes, like, notice it in a resume, and, like, I don't look like I'm down upon it, but I think it's really just depending on, like, what the company is, like, asking for, like, if it's, like if they see the value in it, like, if they want someone that might be hands-on creating content, if it's gonna be, like, a very creative role, I think go for it and put it on your resume.
Mhm.
I think also just trial and error, like, maybe you have some resumes where you do have it, some resumes where you don't, and then kinda just see, like, how it goes, like, with each company you're interviewing in, and, like, what do you get, callbacks from, like, more that you do or more that you don't, And even if you don't put in your resume, like what I like to do was I'll kind of sprinkle it in through the interview. Like maybe they're asking a question about like what I like to do for fun or social media. Like, yeah, like for fun on the weekends, I'll make TikToks and post it, and I end up growing a following. I love just learning the algorithm and trying different hooks, and then you kind of directly relates back to like the job description, and like I think people like love that honestly. So
Yeah.
I think it's like something worth definitely trying putting in your resume, if not at least bringing it up in the interview.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing that you did all of that too, and I think that's such a great example for young women who are again, because I know so many girls that are really just in that spot of like, I want to work in marketing, but I don't have experience. And so I think these are all like great examples of things that you could do to kind of help you get your foot in the door.
I know it's funny because I feel like most people that I know in the industry didn't even major in marketing.
Yes, I
They always just
know.
kind of pivoted. It really is about the experience, I'll say, with marketing.
Yeah, experience is super, super important. And yeah, I love this podcast because I get to talk to marketing girlies that have all sorts of different backgrounds and have made career pivots. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about marketing is that you can really have any background and any perspective is valued. On the flip side, it makes the jobs competitive
Yeah.
because a lot of people want to work in it and anybody can work in it. But that is also one of the beautiful things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me how this led you to Savage.
Yeah, so now I have it's like small TikTok following. I'm applying to jobs, and it's funny. Actually, I applied to Savage originally, because now we're 2021. I applied in like 2020 when I first graduated, and ended up not getting that job. It was actually for an e-com role, which I'm kind of glad I didn't get that job because I love what I'm doing now more. So they had like a new coordinator position opening this time, and it was for acquisition marketing. Um, and I ended up just going through the interview process. Also interviewing with another skincare company at this time. So it was between like those two jobs. I was like debating on going, but obviously I went with Savage. I'm glad I did. And again, I did bring up like kind of like the following, and they really kind of loved it in the interview process. And then, yeah, eventually I got the offer, and then I took it, and here I am
Amazing.
5 years later.
Okay, so you are going through this interview process and trying to decide between 2 brands. What were some of the things that you made you go with Savage and making sure that, like, that was the career path you wanted to go down? Because at this point, did you have acquisition experience?
Slightly, like I
Okay.
kind of worked on like more so on I kind of on optimizing ads, like on my other job. It was like small budgets. So I had like a little bit of experience, but I'll say the job description really kind of like what tailored me to it. And again, like I like data, but I also like love being creative too. And I think
Mhm.
this role really was the balance of both, which kind of drew me into that experience or that role. And yeah, I'll say like the social one. Well, the skincare one was kind of more of like organic social. Basically, I was choosing between like organic or paid, but I
Yeah.
really wanted to kind of go more like that paid route.
Yeah. And then you get the job, which is
Get the
amazing.
job.
And it's what was it like being in a role that's obviously now this is much more focused in on one thing, right? Acquisition marketing. You said you had some experience, but you didn't have a ton yet. So how did you kind of approach that first year being a bit new to the job that you were doing?
Yeah, I'll say I was not afraid to ask questions. I was always eager to like learn. Yeah, I'll like we had like specialists on our team, and me and her would have like one-on-one ones where she would kind of like train me on different things. And I was always just eager to just learn about everything. Like even like on like even if I don't have like I'm done with my task, maybe I'll just take a look at like some data. I'm like, oh, like really look at like what's trending, what's working, what's not working. Even if it wasn't part of my day-to-day task, I'll still kind of like I was just always curious, and I'll always just kinda, like, ask questions from cross-functional team members, like, "Hey, like, what does this mean?" Or, like, "How are you doing XYZ?" I was just always curious. So I think that's really something that I encourage anyone that's kinda like entry level, just don't be afraid to, like, ask questions, meet as many people as you can in different cross-functional teams. I think that's having a good network in your own team is really good. I think just making yourself kinda, like, known, like, everyone putting, like, a face to a name
Yeah.
is really important. I think that really helps having visibility, I think is really important, especially if you're only like entry level position. I think you definitely make yourself known.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And
Mhm.
I'm also curious because you've been there for 5 years, you've also been promoted many times. You've got lots of different job titles, and you are now a senior manager, right? You started at that very entry level position. You're now a senior manager. So,
Mhm.
what are things that you think that you did that allowed you to keep seeing growth, even though you've been at one company for 5 years?
Yeah, for my first promotion in my coordinator position, um, Yeah, I'll say I was probably about, like, 8 months in, and, like, the specialist I was talking about, she ended up resigning and taking a job elsewhere, and they're debating on backfilling, this position, and I was like, "No, you cannot backfill," 'cause, and basically, I think what's really important is make sure you document all of your wins. So throughout this time, even though I was a coordinator, I was still contributing a lot to like all of our creative strategy, giving out good ad ideas. So I kind of really had that kind of like documented on the side. So then by the time I'm like ready to go pitch, like, hey, I think I could take on this like associate level role. I kind of already had that like saved. And a lot of times before you get promoted, they kind of want to see you do the job. Before you kind of get the promotion. So they're like, okay, we'll table backfilling for now. We'll just kind of see how we was doing the job. And I just, yeah, so I ended up just kind of like doing like this like associate level job, taking on more tasks. And all the cross functional partners, they didn't have anything bad things to say. Like everything's still flowing well, even with our specialists leaving. And then eventually end up getting promoted. And usually I didn't even get promoted. I got promoted like middle of the year. Usually promotion cycles are like end of the year or like in spring. So I kind of got promoted, I think, like in the summer. And I think because they saw like everything that I was
Yeah.
doing, they were able to like bring that forward for me.
That's amazing, and also that you spoke up and said, "Hey, I want it." I
Yes.
think that's really great too, because sometimes you might be like, "Oh, I'm, like, upset that they're hiring somebody to backfill the position, like, why didn't they pick me?" But, like, you have to raise your hand and be like, "Well, I want it," and give them that opportunity to take a chance on you.
Yes, that's always the hardest part. And I feel like women, I think we're so bad at just kind of like advocating for ourselves or maybe you're asking whether it's for a raise or for more money or whatever it is. And it is nerve wracking, but I think you really just have to like kind of rip the band-aid off and just kind of like go for it. And again, come with like all your accomplishments and like you will be your best advocate. So
Yeah,
making sure that you speak up for yourself and like don't be like what's the worst that can happen? Like, they say no. So
yeah, and you
don't.
you have to be your best advocate, like,
Yes.
and it's amazing, like, hopefully in your career, you'll have people around you that support you and advocate for you, but at the end of the day, like, nobody's gonna care more about your career than you, no one cares more about your growth than you care about it, and you need to be confident and comfortable speaking up for the things that you want, and like you said, yeah, the worst they can say is no, and I also think it's so great when you start to share what your goals are because you have no idea how the people around you can help you, and the more vocal you are about what you want, then the more likely you are to get it, and I also feel like for you, the theme of our episode is delusion gets you far.
It does.
And you wanted things and you went after them and you got them. So
Yes.
kudos to you. Congrats to you. You are a rock star. So you get this first promotion and then that obviously I know there were a couple more after.
Yeah, so I was probably in this, like, associate level for about a year and a half, or maybe about a year, and then I ended up getting a new manager. She still was on the team, she just ended up getting her scope just ended up changing, and I actually love her. She was actually a really good advocate for me, and she kinda saw, like, "Hey, even though you don't have, like, a manager anymore, I'm seeing that you're owning everything basically, our entire creative strategy, like, you're doing what it takes to be a manager, like, I want you to become a manager." So it's
Oh,
really
that's
great to kinda, like,
amazing.
have her be the advocate for me. But again, you have to kind of prove yourself before you kind of really get that title or get that position. And I kind of just really had to like take on kind of more task and just like really prove myself. I think also at that time, I think I was like 24, 25. And then I remember always trying to like hide my age, like, because I didn't want people to think like, oh, well, she's too young or she can't get it or doesn't have enough experience. So I just, yeah, she would kind of help me, like, maybe bring me in more meetings where I get more visibility. And I'll take on like more like speaking roles, like with leadership teams to really get my face out there more. Um, and also, like, a big part was now that I'm gonna be manager, I'm gonna have, like, direct reports. So, like, a big thing that she would always tell me is, like, "You're doing great at your job, but now I'm gonna judge you on how you are as, like, a manager." So
Mm.
that's something that always, like, resonate with me. I always wanna make sure I'm being a good manager and, like, making sure now that I'm responsible for someone else's, like, potential, like, career growth and their journey, I wanna make sure that I'm always, like, properly training and advocating for someone as, like, she did for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll say within, like, a year and a half, I end up getting that manager position.
That's
So, yeah.
amazing. And that's also a great example of having great people to support you and that also care about your growth as well, which is just as important as you advocating for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So you also mentioned that something that you care about now is being a good manager too. What are some qualities that you think are really important for being a good manager?
Yeah, I think really, when you're delegating tasks, I think it really is important just to, like, give trust. A lot of times you might be owning something for however many years, and now you're, like as you're growing, you're about to take on more tasks. You really have to just give trust to your, to your team members, like, hey, they can do this. Let me see if they can even do it better. And really just kind of giving them like that ownership, like let them own that role and really just kind of giving up maybe what you're used to doing. So I think for me, it's just really important to making sure that they feel confident in, like what they're doing,
Yeah.
not really just like kind of like hovering or having to be a certain way and letting them really like express themselves and see what they can come up and like bring to the like, bring any of their ideas to what we're doing.
Yeah, I think sometimes too it surprises you when you give people space, like how much they can do and
Yeah.
on their own and letting them make mistakes and learn from them and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, obviously you again like we mentioned you've been at Savage for quite a while now. What do you feel like looking back on your past 5 years is maybe one of your biggest lessons or some of your biggest lessons that you've learned?
I'll say one of my biggest lessons, just overall throughout my career journey is kind of like we were talking about. It's like don't be like write down your wins and always advocate for yourself. Um, I'll say really, you never know like where your career might end. Like I didn't know I would end up being here 5 years, but I'm glad I did. And just really kind of take like really see for things for how they are. And let's say if you notice a good path for you, then I think maybe it might be better to just stay at the company. I think really working with your manager, like, hey, can I have like a growth plan? Like what do I need to do to get to this next level? And kind of having things like right there in writing and helping to help you get to the next level. I know a lot of times people just feel stuck in a position for years, but you kind of don't get promoted for like staying somewhere for a long time. You get promoted for taking on like a new position. So really
Yeah.
making sure that you have that documented on like what are these new tasks I'm going to take on that can eventually lead me here.
I love that. I would say 2 things that I love. One is asking for a growth plan. I think that's so great. Again, going back to advocating for yourself and having it really clear, and you mentioned having it in writing, also so important. You wanna say, "Okay, this like, I really wanna grow," right? Because it's also a benefit to the company, right? Like, I
Yeah.
wanna grow with Savage, like, I wanna grow with this brand, like, how can I get there? And then also having that in writing and clear so there's transparency, right? You know what you need to do. It's also, like, in writing that these are the steps that you need to take. So, I really love that you did that, and I think you're right, sometimes people do feel stuck or like they can't keep growing at a company, but the point that you made of, like, you don't get promoted just because you've been there for a certain
Mhm.
amount of time, you get promoted because you, yeah, are taking on a new role or doing more than the expectation for you, so I think that's also a really great mind shift of just, like, instead of being, like, expecting the promotion because you've been there for a long time, asking yourself, like, "What can I do to level up so that I am at that level to get that promotion."
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times companies love hiring from like within. So really
Yeah.
it's just really about asking and like letting them know that you are interested. Even if you want to like change different teams. I know a lot of times sometimes people might jump from like different maybe if they're going from ecom to marketing or whatever it might look like. So I think really it's just kind of being vocal and like just talking to everyone, like knowing what you like and what you don't like and just being honest with your manager and then going from there.
And you'll learn what it takes to get that, right? Because then if you
Mhm.
know that you want that role, then you could figure out, "Okay, these are, like, the steps I need to get there."
Yeah. Be your own advocate. That's what I have to
Yeah,
say.
I love that. Be your own advocate, be delusional. And then in terms of I wanna touch back on acquisition marketing because I think that's such a unique space and fun space that you're in. For somebody who is interested, that listening to this episode and they're like, "That sounds really fun. I would love to work in that space." Do you have any advice for them on how to get started?
Yeah, it's a good question. I say getting started again. I feel like there's a lot of resources online, just turning and just in terms of like learning like what acquisition marketing is and like how that falls under growth marketing and just the whole umbrella of it and like from acquisition to retention. And what I love about acquisition marketing is that it's directly tied to revenue. So you kind of see the numbers day to day. You see how the business is performing, how it's growing, if it is growing or if it's not growing. And I think there's just like a lot of I think just kind of working directly with the numbers is really good, especially at a time where maybe like marketing budgets are kind of getting cut. And like I think right now I'm seeing a lot of like job postings for like kind of like paid media roles. I think it's a really good time to get into it. I think also reaching out to people maybe at a job that you're interested in, like maybe on LinkedIn, just like, hey, like I really want to learn more about what you do at your job. And like sometimes people do that to me. And like if I have the time, I'll like sit and chat with them. But I think don't be afraid to kind of put yourself out there and like reach out to people. I think a lot of times people are willing to really help and just kind of like give their own like career advice or their or just go through their journey on kind of like what they do. So
Yeah,
don't be afraid to put yourself
absolutely.
out there.
I love that. And then how about on the content creator side? How do you manage being a ambitious, career-driven woman in your corporate job and then also having time to grow your own content creation channel?
It's a lot. But I'll say the biggest thing I've learned over the past few years is just time management really is important. Um, so yeah, so for me, like what I learned is I really have to make use most of my weekends. So for me, like I think my filming days are like Fridays and Sundays, and then I might like edit in the mornings. And when I don't stick to that schedule, I feel like I end up just getting burnt out, or I'm just like doing a lot too much throughout the week. So really making sure that I'm again like sticking to that schedule, and if I have to sacrifice some time, maybe I really wanted to do XYZ on the weekend, maybe I just have to like cut some things out, just looking at the overall vision of like kind of like what I want to do and what I want to grow. But I think the best part about being your own boss and content creation is that you can kind of take breaks when you need to. So if I'm feeling like burnt out, I can always like take a little break, like me like a few weeks or something, and then kind of get back to it when I'm feeling ready. But I'd say time management really, really is important, like in handling both at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine it being a lot with, yeah, working and then also posting at the same time because posting is so much work. I think that's
Yeah.
something
Oh
that
my god, and editing.
editing is so much work. It is so much work and super time consuming, which is something that I feel like I didn't have a strong grasp on until I started to create content. It's like, oh my gosh, it can take hours to edit a video sometimes.
No, yeah.
Yeah, which is a lot. But I think it's really, really great because also I'm assuming you really love it and it's a passion of yours. It's something that brings you a lot of joy too. So getting to balance both, I imagine, is fulfilling for you in your career.
Yeah, I've been doing it for almost 5 years now, and I still plan on continuing to do it. I do really love it. But yeah, I just kind of know, listen to like me and my body when I know it's time to like kind of take a break. But I'm always love growing. I also love how like it kind of overlaps with both. Like I'm like testing different hooks or XYZ on like my own page, but then it kind of correlates to like my job. Like, oh, I can take this. And so I really like how the overlap in like both careers.
Is there anything, because you've been on the TikTok since the very beginning, what do you feel like has been some big changes you've seen or anything that you're kind of keeping an eye on right now when it comes to the TikTok algorithm?
Right now I'm noticing they're really kind of pushing more like longer form video. When I say long form, maybe like minute plus on the algorithm. I remember back then it was really kind of like more like short, quick, fun videos. I still kind of do those from time to time, but I think really now is which is kind of hard, capturing people's attention for like a longer time, trying to get like a longer watch time. I think the algorithm really is kind of like pushing that more and more from what I'm seeing. So for anyone that's getting into content creation, I think it's good to add that to your strategy. Maybe add a mix of those short, quick, fun 7-second trend videos, but maybe also have your longer form videos too as well in your strategy plan. Just see kind of like what works well for the audience that you're trying to reach and see kind of like what grows from there.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see all the changes from the algorithm over the past couple of years and what people are wanting. I even know for me, I love long form content on TikTok. Like sometimes I want to be able to not have to scroll so much,
Mhm.
right? Because like sometimes you're scrolling so much to
Yeah.
find
It's like getting ready in the bathroom and just, like, let it play.
exactly like put it on. Honestly, I find myself watching a lot of podcast clips on TikTok now. I
Yeah.
feel like because like they're the longer form piece of content, but that is interesting to see. Also, we've saw like the horizontal format be introduced to TikTok too.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm sure being a creator allows you to be able to test those things early and then be able to, like, apply them to your job as well.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, amazing. Alright, well, we chatted about so much in today's
Oh.
episode. We've covered all of your years at Savage. We've talked about your content creation. I know I've asked you for your biggest lessons from Savage, but overall, looking back at your career, if there is there any last piece of advice you wanna give the marketing girlies?
Yeah, last piece of advice I would give is don't be afraid of rejection. I think just changing the way that you view rejection. I know a lot of times, like, getting that no is hard, but I actually saw a TikTok the other day, and a girl said that she got 1,000 no's in 2025, but that also ended up being, like, her best year yet. And that really resonated with me because I think that's good. Like, obviously, rejection really leads to redirection, which I love. So I think if you do get rejected from the job that you wanted, it's only going to lead you closer to your next position. A lot of times people say, you kind of get lucky, but a lot of times to get lucky, you kind of have to put yourself out there many times. So I think you're bound to get lucky the more times you put yourself out there.
We're aligned on so many values here. I talk about this all the time. You create your own luck. I'm a big believer. I think there's multiple types of luck. Some is serendipitous, but I think a lot of it is creating your own luck. I even think of random people you meet on that night that you really wanted to stay home, but you made yourself go out and you had like an experience or you met a person, and that is luck that you are creating by leaving your house. And same with projection, right? The more times you hear no, the more likely you are to also hear yeses. And those are opportunities that you're creating and luck that you're creating for yourself.
Yes,
I love it.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Marketing Girly. It's been so much fun chatting with you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.